Welcome, Senator.
Thank you very much. Again, I bring greetings on behalf of my fellow Senator Art Kirkendall. We have tried to listen to your requests as you all know we're about to enter the 81st session. I'm excited about that under the leadership of Governor Tomlin. And again, I think some of the things that I've heard tonight, basically, maybe things we didn't have hard funding before. We've got hard funding now for water projects, and we really want to take advantage of this. And again, I'm relatively in a leadership role now, and so I certainly don't want to squander this opportunity. And I've listened to the commission as far as a couple of requests. I just want to kind of reiterate what I've heard, and I'm ready to make some tweaks in legislation regarding the courthouse facilities funding. We're going to tweak it in such a way, or at least put in a bill that would allow us to use funding not just on the building itself, but on an annex. So that I've listened to Mr. Vance there, McCann, excuse me. And also, I've heard loud and clearly that you want to try to get a state park around the Mud River area. I can tell you it's going to be an uphill battle, but I'm ready, willing, and able. I'm going to put in a resolution to try to get that moving forward. Folks, you know, everybody says, well, you're not pro-coal if you think post-coal. I'm as pro-coal as you can get, but we really have to start thinking about what's going to happen, because there's a trajectory going down for coal use, and therefore we're so dependent on coal in this area. But we have basically Corridor G, and we have a lot of opportunity that we've talked about a little bit here tonight, where we can help diversify our economy. The Charleston Area Alliance is always trying to look for 50 acres here, or a few acres here. We have to stand ready with infrastructure in place and water. That's so important, and I certainly hope that we can get everybody to sign up for that water, that we can proceed with this project. The sewer that we're talking about is so important. I think Lincoln County, with its relationship with Corridor G, is so poised to really grow and diversify its economy. I think that you all are great leaders, and we need to really think outside of the box and cooperate, hopefully, with the Charleston Area Alliance, just like you're talking about here tonight with South Charleston and its sewer system. So those are things that are very important. I wanted to listen tonight. Art and I are going around the different commissions. My door's open for you. I want you to apply for community participation grants. I can tell you now that we only get like 160 apiece, but Art and I are putting their things together. So anytime you get a certificate saying that we've got you money, it's we've got you money. We're going to combine it so that it's on behalf of Senator Kirkendall, Senator Stallings, so that we can have more money, more bang for our buck. So again, it's a pleasure to work with you. And again, you've got my numbers. I'm looking forward to Sunday going up there for the last 3 days of the February interims, and then of course Wednesday we're going to hear Governor Tomlin's State of the State address. So the next 60 days is going to be fun, hectic, and stand ready to, again, if you need something, let me know. I'm going to try my best to get it for you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's as I've said before, we've got a really good group of representatives bringing things to the attention of this state, what we need here in the county. And two of the best are Senator Stallings and Senator Kirkendall. I'm very impressed with how one-on-one they treat these things and how personal they take them. And as the Senator said, and I've stated before, we have a governor who's very concerned about the people of Lincoln County, and I think we need to work with him on helping him do the things that we see need to be done here. But in the past, as always, Senator Stallings has been there for us, and I look forward to the things that he can do in his positions that he's in now, and with Senator Kirkendall. Thank you very much, Ron. And he did get Ron Gregory better, I didn't, so.
He's a miracle guy.
Anyone else?
Kind of a couple items I just need to update the commission on tonight. Some are things that you all have asked me about, others are things that are just more of a year-end summary or a synopsis. But before we jump into anything about some local activities, I want to give you a copy of an article that recently was in a trade journal. And this discusses where we're headed with what's known as Next Generation 911 and where we're headed with text messaging to the 911 centers. A lot has changed in the 22 years that we've been in operation, and it has been 22 years this year. At the time, we took calls from people at their home. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have voice over IP. We didn't have Vonage. We didn't have Magic Jack. We didn't have all of those. And the FCC has finally come to some agreements with the major cellular carriers, and by June of this year, if you dial or text 911 with a message, you will get a bounce back that says that service is not currently available in your area. Right now, you get nothing except a rejected message. And then by May 5th of 2014, just next year, as counties start to request it and start to have the ability to receive it, then the telephone companies will be able to start to deliver text messaging to the 911 centers. It became a huge issue after Virginia Tech when you had people that were hiding in closets, hiding all throughout that school, and they were able to text their family several states away to tell them what was going on, but they couldn't text the local police department or the local emergency services to tell them what help they needed. So having said that, that is one thing that I've been waiting on, piecing together and doing everything I can to preserve the current phone system that we had until the technology that was currently there. So within the next few months, we'll start to look at a phone system to replace what we've had, something that meets the standards that the FCC has come down with, and something that we'll be able to use. But phone systems aren't cheap. It'll probably be our largest expense since we moved into the new building. We're looking at somewhere between $50,000 and $70,000 per seat, not total, but per seat. So it will be a major expense, and hopefully we'll be ready to move forward with that when the 911 system or the cellular systems can handle that. Myself and Dr. Vance talked more about the Harts Tower project that we have, about working hard to encourage cellular service in that area. We have found a nice pretty day. It was tough to find since we talked, but we found a couple in there, and we went down and taken pictures of the area, and we've got a draft lease available, pictures and a poster that we're going to put together and start to supply that information to the cellular companies. And I don't know if you've had the chance to work any more forward, we talked about with the resolution, but I really think that would help us.
Well, Senator, since you're here, you were going to be one of the people that I talked to about this. And what we're going to do is see if we could get our representatives to give us a resolution or a letter of support of us getting cell service in the county. And we're looking at it mainly as far as not only as a convenience, but as a safety thing. You know, down here, if you go over into the Guyan River anywhere, you're not going to call on your cell phone to get somebody to come there and help you and things of that nature. So what Al and I had talked about a couple of weeks ago, I think, was asking you all to give us a letter of support, and we'll draft something that would go along that line and get it to you and to Art and to the governor, to Senator Rockefeller, Senator Manchin, and things like that. Get these letters of support together, then approach the upper echelon of the carriers in Virginia or wherever we have to go to talk to them. Alan, are you aware of this? Have you talked to any about the AT&T coming in here? I guess 2 days after we talked, AT&T came into the courthouse here and wanted to, well, I'll let you talk to him.
Peter McMillan, he's a subcontractor for AT&T Wireless, came in and we had a talk about they needed a site somewhere here in Hamlin. And he said that they had pinpoint down that right here at the courthouse, to put a tower, 40 by 40 piece of property they would lease from us. That because the service in the town, inside the courthouse, I know there's some people here may have a cell phone. Sometimes you have coverage, sometimes you don't. We've received complaints from attorneys and different people. And that would give more coverage here. They were wanting, they would pay us $850 a month for that site.
It's not enough.
Well, I'm just telling you.
Well, I can tell you by comparisons with what AT&T has done elsewhere in the county, that's the first offer, and there's a whole lot more money on the table that they're willing to pay based upon what they've agreed to with other people. And you may have some knowledge of some people that have signed lease agreements for cellular sites. That's a drop in the bucket to what the going price is. And what we may do is to have the leverage that if AT&T was willing to locate some cellular service in some areas where we need them to versus where they want to, that we could possibly waive the $2,000 a month that we would be entitled to for the property up here.
This is what we had thought about doing, Alan, is approaching them and talking to them about possibly a site over towards Samarico and then one in Harts, and see what kind of interest they would have in helping us.
And you and I had also talked that we are in dire need of a new tower at the 911 center. The current tower there is 180 feet. We need about 420 feet in order to get the microwave into either Porter's Knob in Salt Rock or Samarico Tower site in order to tie directly into the state microwave system that's part of the broadband network, that's part of the state digital interoperable radio system. But in order to get that grant, and there is grant money out there that's available, a couple of $1 million a year goes into a special fund, and that's how we funded the Harts project. In order to be eligible for that, the cellular company has to give us a letter of intent that they would like to place cellular service on that when it's constructed. So I think if they've approached you, then that definitely gives us some room to sit down and say, you know, there's some other things that we want out of you in the process, but I think that's great because there is a definite issue with penetration of the cellular service into the buildings here, and the tower that they do have in Hamlin, it's located back here on the top of the ridge, and it just happened to be that they acquired that through 3 or 4 other acquisitions when they purchased property in other companies, and it wasn't necessarily engineered to the point where it would best serve the community when it was put there. It was put there more as a microwave hop to tie Charleston and Huntington into the site that operated separately when Logan had, I think there was Independent Cellular out of Logan, or there was an independent company out of Logan that operated the cell service there about 15 years ago. So I think we need to sit down and try to pull those people together. And
Well, if it's okay with the commission, I'll contact these people and have Alan get with it. Does that sound okay to you guys?
I think it's a great idea. You can head this up.
So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and contact him and see if we can set up a time that you can get with him and talk to him about these areas, because we need to try to get as much coverage as we can now that they're interested in what we're doing.
Senator Stallings said he would
Be glad to write a letter of support, anything, any mechanism there we can do. I know a couple of those guys that I can try to strong arm a little bit.
That sounds good.
well, we've worked with several of them over the years, and they used to be very willing and able to write letters of intent for counties to receive that tower assistance funding. And then county commission started holding them to the promise, and they come back and said, we're not signing letters of intent for anything unless we have it in our budget and we truly plan to do that. So all the help that we can get, maybe if we can sit down amongst ourselves the next couple of weeks and have a meeting, decide what we want as a group, and then go to them as a jointly. I think the more of us and the more positions, especially in your position, can help us with this, it would be beneficial.
Yeah, I think as quick as we can get together as far as drafting the letter that we'd ask our legislature to approve, or just give us something along that line, if we can maybe get something together on that. Then also meet with these guys and see if there's any way that we can encourage them about these other sites.
I'd like to be part of that.
Sure. What I'll do is go ahead, I'll give them a call tomorrow and tell them that you're gonna be our point man on this thing, if that's all right.
That's fine with me.
And then you can set up a meeting, we can all meet with them if it's necessary, or whatever, how you wanna do it.
Well, I think anybody that's interested in it, we want to make sure that my goals meet the goals of everybody else, and we are collectively decided on what we're going to go after. And I think getting someone in the Harts Creek area is critically important because there is no service there per se. And then, obviously, if they want to put something here and pay us for it, then we want to do that, but we also want to get something out of them and make sure that we get.
We really wanna look at that area over that way too, as far as over his way.
Yeah, as soon as you go over American Mountain, it's a blackout all the way to Sweetland, and it's a blackout even towards, down towards, the dam. I mean, what we need to do, and I mean, I'm sure that you can do this, is we need to look at where we can get the optimal coverage.
We looked at the dam. In fact, myself and Mr. McCann went up there and drove all over the mountain probably 4 or 5 years ago now, looking for a site. And unfortunately, because the people need the service up there, and they need it because of the recreation activities,
Right.
the population density was so low that they could never turn the money, find a way to ever recover the cost of putting something in that area.
Well, what I was saying is, it doesn't necessarily have to be American Mountain. I mean, it doesn't, you can't pinpoint anything right now. What we have, that's what I was talking about. The optimal place to put a tower, or if we have an existing tower, whatever it is, so that we can serve the most customers and most people.
And that's what we've got to do.
Yeah, that's right.
And that was the only problem with the dam. There wasn't enough people living up there to support them giving us that investment. But we've been up there, and unfortunately, we've dealt with this at least every other meeting for probably the last 5, 6 years, so.
But I think the only difference in this is that, we know they wanna put a site here. And right now, I think, to me, if that means that they're gonna benefit from it financially, or they wouldn't do it.
Oh, absolutely.
So, but as you and I talked about before, maybe this gets our foot into the door to where we can go ahead and talk to them about these other, because I think what we need to do is get what we can out of them. We may only can get 1, maybe 2, whatever sites, but I think we've got to look at doing it for the whole county, or as far as how many sites we're gonna need for the county, and say, look, you guys are in on the ground floor here, you go ahead and you and I talked about looking at different ways to, maybe, cut back their expenses and things like that, and maybe we can use.
There's absolutely nothing that prevents us from building them a tower under the Tower Site Assistance Fund. It has to be, in order to be eligible for it, there has to be a need for cellular service in the area. In other words, Cabell County could apply for a tower in downtown Huntington. They wouldn't qualify because there's already service. In order to get those towers built, there has to be a diminished cellular signal to begin with.
Well, and even letters of intent for them to do that would help, you know what I mean? I mean, if to occupy the sites, if we could get that from them, if we couldn't get 2 sites out of them or something like that, get letters of intent to locate on any tower we build or whatever, so. But what we'll do, I'm gonna go ahead and call them tomorrow morning and talk with them a little bit, then I will, let you know what I find out, and you can set up a meeting, and whomever want to get to it, we'll get together with them. But I do think we ought to do it pretty quick. I mean, I think we ought to be meeting with them face to face within the next couple of weeks. So
Okay, very good.
We can do that. So,
That's great.
Also, we're working on the Bluestone Dam project. Here's what we are proposing. There's been several, pass some down. We are doing this as a statewide drill, and this is what we have requested from the state to help fund the drill. And basically, we're going to simulate a countywide power outage, and every building that we can pull into play, we will exercise the generator during that time period. In addition, there is a training class coming up for public officials at North Bend State Park on March 26th and 27th. The title of the class is Recovery from Disaster, the Local Government's Role. And here is a flyer on that. I would think that anybody that's new to an elected position in the county I'm not picking on anybody, KK, but this would be a class that the state picks up your lodging, the state picks up your food, your travel arrangements and everything. This would be a class that would give you a better understanding of what my office does and how we as a county work together to recover from a disaster. But it's a class that a lot of people could benefit from. I have reserved a couple of extra rooms. If somebody from the county government wants to attend, that I'll need to know, I guess, within the next couple of weeks so we can release those rooms if we're not going to use them. In addition, we finished up the grant for the generator that we bought last summer. The wiring at Lincoln Public Service District and the other locations across the county, we got that check in today. If you haven't gotten it already, it's in an envelope to come down to you. It's the final check for that, and the final project has finally been wrapped up. The generator here at the courthouse, as far as I know, everything is good to go on that. We did have some issues with some fumes in the building. They added a smokestack out back and funneled it away from the air intake on the air conditioner system, and made some adjustments day before yesterday to keep from blowing the breakers on the air conditioning and the heating system when the generator kicks on Saturday. So that generator is capable of supplying all the power to the courthouse that's necessary to keep the building in operation. 100% of the building's covered under that. In addition, I want to make you aware of Project Lifesaver, and I've got some extra brochures, and I'm going to give the extra brochures to you, Dr. Vance, so that you can pass them out to your clients that may be able to benefit from the program. Project Lifesaver is a nationally run program that my office has been doing for about 3 years. We basically provide radio detection bracelets that can be applied to people who have a cognitive disorder to wonder. Alzheimer's and autistic patients are the ones that tend to benefit the most from it. It's been very successful in this county. We've gotten quite a few requests for it. It's very surprising how many people suffer from one of those two diseases. We currently have 15 clients on the program. They range in age from 7 to 85. And we have several children. One of the nursing facility out here in Hamlin refers a lot of people to us. Several people have been referred through the school system. After you search 3 or 4 hours for a child that has a disorder to wonder, and then you find them hiding in a closet or in a bathroom or whatever, the schools were real quick to pick up on the program. It's been very effective, but it's a collaborative effort of the Sheriff's Department, the ambulance service, several volunteer fire departments, and then we manage it, change the batteries on a monthly basis, and have contact with those people. But please, anybody that runs into that, so far there's been over 2,500 rescues across the nation with not a single fatality or serious injury from anybody that's been on the program. So it's a very worthwhile program. Here's some additional booklets on family emergency guide that I brought. We're in the process of getting several of these through a grant program, and we're going to try to make these available to anybody in the county. Any ideas that you all might have on a cheap, easy way to distribute these booklets to as many people as possible would be greatly appreciated. But we're going to have several hundred copies of this booklet, and then put some local information on the back of it also. But it basically tells people what to do to get ready if you have a disaster, or what actually should be done.
We can put those out in the clinic up at Harts.
Okay.
Put them out in churches too.
I'll leave
A lot of people get in church.
I'll leave some of these here for anybody that wants them tonight. We've also looked at our 911 figures for this year. We're down 500, a little over 500 calls from last year. How that happened after having 3 federally declared disasters and then a storm in October that didn't qualify was kind of surprising, but we're right around 10,003 actual emergencies dispatched through the 911 center this year, and that number's pretty much held steady, with law enforcement and a close second EMS calls being the majority of the calls that we handle. Any questions for me? Thank
We
you.
didn't put you on the agenda. Thank you, Al.
Thank you.
Yeah, did you, Rick? I was always glad when Al.
Anyone else? It's not